Okay, so welcome to the Node.js Community Technical Steering Committee meeting for April 10th, 2019. We'll follow the agenda posted in the issue, which is to start out with to see if there's any announcements that people want to share.
Yes, I have one. We are still looking for session for the Collaborator Summit, and you should also attend the Collaborator Summit. Okay, this is where everybody will come in, hopefully, in Berlin. So it will be right before this ConfU on the 30th and 31st of May. Let me check exactly. And we have a venue as well, which is the Courtyard by Marriott. And you will find a lot of links in the notes, but you can just hit github.com/nodejs/summit, and you can find all the relevant information there. And if you want to help in organizing this, just get in contact and we can look you in. Apart from this, there is also the travel fund. So if you want to come by and you need some help, and you are a member of the Node.js Foundation or a member of any project in the on the XJSF, the XJS Foundation, you can come, and there is that available. Note that we also have this is called officially the OpenJS Foundation Collaborator Summit. So it's open to people from all the projects and everything in the newly born foundation, even if still we are spinning this up yet. So we still not have a CPC, and I know Michael will have a lot of stuff. We'll have lots of stuff later on to talk about.
Yeah, no, I'll echo. Those are great events to get together with other people who are working in the projects. You can really have some really great conversations. I see a lot of energy and sort of, things start out of those. So if you're thinking or on the edge, I'd add my 2 cents that it's really a good thing to do. Okay, any other announcements? No? Okay, so let's move on to the issues which are tagged in the agendas. The first one is domain. Error handler runs outside of its domain. And then Matteo, I see that you opened that one. So do you want to take that? You're on mute.
Yeah, just give me a second. And
yeah, sure.
Open up the issue. I was trying to fill in the details in the in the notes, the links in the notes for the summit. So here's the problem with this. So this is why I put in on the. I want to talk briefly about it. So this is some major change on domains. Okay. That does not go through the route of removing them or making them less impactful. It's actually changing the behavior so that they are more ergonomic. My question for all of you is this something that it's okay for us or it is not? The reason is domain has been this thing that we haven't really addressed for I don't know, 4 years or something. And a lot of companies use them. Some of them don't. They are more or less half broken anyway. So I just wanted to point everybody to this. And if anybody has no objection, we're going to land this in the next few days. So that's more or less my. And if you want to review it, please review it. But that's more or less the reason why I wanted to talk about it.
Okay, so you don't necessarily have a concern with it landing. You just wanted to make sure people are aware because there might be some concern over landing something in them because they're deprecated, right?
Yeah, essentially yes. So those are deprecated. We don't want to encourage people to use them. Making it to make them more ergonomic kind of goes against this principle.
Right.
And I don't know. That's my take. So if we do, it's probably better to land this in 0.12. So that would require a TSC approval.
Right. Do we? My sense is we still don't necessarily have a complete replacement yet. Is that
No, we don't.
fair? So that's kind of one mitigating thing. If we had some alternative we were trying to encourage people to move over to, but if there's not necessarily an option and this makes it slightly better, it seems reasonable to me, I guess. And I guess to you too, since you approved it.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I just wanted to flag it so that, you know, this didn't seem and also this will require TSC approval or something to land in 0.12, but I think it's fine for everybody in the study in Node 12, right? Does anybody object to that?
So in terms of risk, it's fairly low risk, is it? I guess looking at it, it just affects. The one thing is that we won't have had much time to sort of validate whether we think it's like even in master, right? To have it soak and.
No, but to me, it's, I don't know, should be fine.
Should be fine, yeah. Okay. So is there any comments, concerns other people want to raise?
So I haven't gone through the changes in full detail, but one of the questions that comes up is if the error handler is executed in the parent's domain, is it that the error recovery from the error is not possible? In the sense, if you have an error handler within a specific scope in a domain, it's so possible
it's still possible. The difference is the error handler runs in the scope of the parent. So essentially, in the current system, if the error handler throw, if you're in a domain and the error handler throw in that domain, that error handler calls himself, and you go into an endless loop.
I guess I was taking Jerish's question as, can you recover and continue as if nothing else happened? You know, kind of like a try-catch. You could put a try-catch around something, and if you catch the error, then you just keep on going. You're in the same context. This would seem to say that once you're in the error handler, you're no longer in the same domain.
I don't know. We need to test it. Like, I am not, you know, I just flagged it for people to review. So if you want to go back to Rich to discuss this into the issue, that would probably be the best option.
Makes sense. Thanks. I'll do that.
Any other comments or issues before we move on to the next issue? Okay, if not, let's move on to the next one, which is 25094. Do not use HTTP parser. I think looking at the latest comments in that, Matteo, it looks like it could be removed from the agenda because you added it to get more reviews and TSC reviews, and you've got.
Yeah, it's already removed, so it's fine.
Okay, so let's just remove that. Okay, so we can move on to the next issue, which is TSC election for the chair and CPC representative. That's 689. I opened that because I think we've got agreement in terms of how we will divide or elect the CPC representatives for the Node.js project. We have up to 2 for each impact project, of which Node is. The agreement seems to be that, you know, we'll have the TSC nominate and elect one, and the community nominate and elect one, pretty much like we did with the directors. The CPC representative basically replaces the director representation, although we do have a director that the Node project should be able to elect later on, I think, once the CPC is formed. But it made sense to people to say, okay, let's follow the same process for those representatives as before. We're also coming up to the time of year where we've done elections for the chair and the director in the past. So I pulled out the schedule from last year. The one tweak I kind of made was we've set ourselves a target in the bootstrap of the OpenJS Foundation to try and get the the voting representatives identified for May 1st. It's a soft target, but I think it would still be a good thing to do that. So I've proposed a schedule that does the voting for the CPC representative first, or in parallel to some sense, and then the chair. So I'd suggest that we open the call for nominations on Monday, just to give people a little bit of time to think about that. Matteo suggested maybe we could just open it up today. I have no major concerns with that. I just wanted to give people a little bit of time to think if they wanted to run or not before it was open. A week from then, close the nominations for the CPC representative. And on the 29th, we could close the balloting and announce the CPC. May 1st, open the balloting for the chair. May 15th, close and announce the chair representative, and then do some handover and so forth throughout the rest of May. So I put this on the agenda to make sure, to basically give people an option, make sure people had awareness, and to see if there's any comments in terms of that proposal. So does anybody have suggestions, comments, concerns? Sounds good. So Matteo, do you think we should adjust the opener? Are you okay with the 15th?
I would prefer starting today to some extent.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any,
Or tomorrow, I don't know, or tomorrow for the ComCom, whatever, to align. But the ComCom meets tomorrow, right? So if you can pass a similar thing with ComCom.
Let me just check the calendar. I think we met last week, so I don't think there's going to be a ComCom meeting this week.
Oh, okay. So
yeah, it's not till next week. But I did reach out to Adam to say, hey, can you get the ComCom started? So I started. We haven't synced it with them in the past, so I don't.
Okay, so I would start today. For me, I don't see why we shouldn't. So
okay.
So for me, it's basically the sooner we start, the better. In some ways.
Open call for today. Anybody have any concerns with opening it today? Okay, so I guess sorry, go ahead, Jarish.
No, sounds good, man.
Okay, so if there's no objections, I can go ahead and open an issue to call for the nominations for the two. And we'll start to work towards that agenda. Okay, so I guess moving on to the next issue, it's the tracking issue for the update on board meetings. We don't have any updates, no Miles. So no update this week. Then we can move on to the strategic initiatives, which is number 423. Let's pull that out. Okay, so I'm just going to skip down to ones where we have people in attendance. So NAPI, mostly we're still working on, working through individual issues and evangelism and, trying to drive and help with adoption. One area we did have a brainstorm in the last session was on the async worker implementation. But a number of issues have been raised with that. We tried to follow a pattern that was set in NAN with that, and we want to be consistent with that. And in some cases, it may have brought some issues, or we just didn't follow it closely enough and introduced some issues. So we're working on that, came up with some good ideas. And we're working on some proposals for a workshop for a bunch of the Node conferences to help, again, to try and drive adoption. Let's look through the next one. OpenSSL evolution. So I just point to the OpenSSL strategy that Rod took over that Sam took over from Rod. That was landed. So if you're interested, you can go take a look and read the current state. I guess the one thing that's called out in there that's unfortunate is that FIPS support will only be coming in OpenSSL 3, it looks like. So we're likely to have a gap between 8 and whatever, and probably something like 14 where there'd be a new version. So, but I don't know that there's anything we can do about that. Matteo, anything on core promise APIs?
So there has been some discussions recently about supporting async iterators for transform streams. So how to map an async iterator to a transform stream, how to map to a sync iterator to readable stream, and those type of things, especially because in the context of pipeline. So there has been a nice issue actually being open recently out of a Twitter conversation. So it's a nice one. So if somebody wants to give it a shot, I would be very happy to mentor people and have people look into it.
You have the link to the issue?
Yeah, let me just get it. It's 27140.
27140.
Yep.
Okay. And okay.
Yeah, so that's actually a very good one. If somebody wants to start the work, it will be very. I'm happy to mentor or whatever.
Okay, sounds good. Just going through to see who we have. Python and JIP and Python 3 and JIP.
Yeah, so the JIP upgrade is actually happening. There were a few bugs, and the peer is actually updated with the latest release of JIP 3. So that's the current state. And most likely, we'll work with build team to have Python 3 installed in all our machines.
Build machines. I guess like 12 is still going to install. Is still going to support both 2 and 3 by the sounds of it.
Yeah, 12 might not support 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so still working.
We may have to do that in a minor release.
Okay. Okay. And there's a new one. I guess there's a couple of new ones which we don't have the champions, but I'll mention them anyway. Startup performance. Joey has listed one related to startup performance. If you have an interest, you could help and get involved in that. And there's a new one related to build resources as well, which Rich and Rod have agreed to take on. That's around sort of looking at our build resources, sort of trying to quantify, in some cases, a bit more what we need and figure out access. And you know, we've struggled a bit with how do we get more people involved in helping with the various bits and pieces, the way they're tied together. So it's around that. Okay. So that's what was on our agenda. Are there, before we close the public meeting, are there any other things that we should cover before we do that? Okay, I think we'll just flip over and see if there's any questions on the YouTube stream. Let me see if I can figure out how to find that. I seem to have closed the... Okay, I don't see any questions now. We'll maybe give people 1 minute to ask a question if they have any. Okay, it doesn't look like there's any questions, so I'm going to close the stream. Thanks for everybody for attending, and also for those people who are listening online.